And in today's episode, I got a chance this morning to drive into Seattle and meet with Washington Attorney General Nick Brown. He was holding a press conference today to announce a new lawsuit against Safeway, Albertsons, Hagen's, all the same ownership group, off over their buy one, get one free. Apparently, he says there's been some price fixing here and some violations of consumer protection. And so he's filed this lawsuit. That's not why I went. That ends up being a benefit for one of my colleagues, Randy Diamond, our Seattle reporter, who's going to be writing up this lawsuit because this is actually a significant story. But the whole reason I wanted to drive into Seattle and see AG Nick Brown was because it provided the first opportunity since our breaking story 1 week ago today, and my colleague TJ Martinell, after obtaining the records from the office of AG Brown into how they collaborated with the sponsors of the income tax bill, how to craft the bill to maybe get around the state constitution, and also to avoid the public weighing in, attaching a referendum clause to that bill. So I did get a couple of questions into A.G. Brown this morning. He was a bit dismissive, but we're going to share that response with you in today's episode of Washington in Focus. So let's dive in. This Monday, today, started with a press conference in Seattle at the Seattle office of Attorney General Nick Brown, to announce that he is suing Albertsons, Safeway, and Hagen's, all under the same parent ownership group, over their buy one, get one free deals. I happen to shop at my nearby Safeway, do most of my grocery shopping outside of Costco there, and I take advantage of the buy one, get one free. Or in my case, since we're chipaholics in our house, we'll like buy 2 bags of chips and get 3 free. He's suing him over that, saying it's deceptive advertising. But that's not why I went to the press conference. My colleague, Randy Diamond, is going to be writing about this fascinating lawsuit. But I went to specifically ask him about the documents obtained by the Center Square and my colleague TJ Martinell. And we wrote about this last week and through the week, had a series of exclusive articles with reaction to the documents, which basically showed collusion, coordination, whatever you want to call it, between the AG's office and the prime sponsor of Senate Bill 6346, the income tax bill. And this basically showed that they went back and forth quite a few times. We had 988 pages of unredacted documents showing these emails saying, how should we craft this? You might want to add an emergency clause or a referendum proof clause to this bill. How should we word this to basically force this to the state Supreme Court? And that's where things are going at this point. So that was my motivation for attending the press conference. And I did get an opportunity to press AG Brown about the documents that we obtained.
Here for just a second, I asked you with the documents that the Center Square obtained. Do you think it's appropriate for your office to be giving lawmakers advice on how to break the state constitution?
Well, I would disagree with your framing of it, but it is very common for AG's offices to advise their clients on the law, the status of cases, analyzing prior Supreme Court decisions. It is something that we do on a regular basis. It is something that all of my predecessors have done. So yes, I think it's pretty common and appropriate.
A discussion of how to bypass the voters from your office, your attorneys in your office, and all saying this is what you need to do. You attach this referendum to bypass the voters. Is that appropriate?
That's just wrong. If you look at the email communications, my Solicitor General and people in the office were talking about how this, because it's raising revenue, couldn't go to referendum. So we weren't trying to bypass the voters. We weren't advising the legislature how to do that. We were explaining what the state of the law is. So the framing of the question and the reporting of that is just incorrect.
So it was not a huge surprise to hear his basically dismissal of my questions today, and basically saying that it's not inappropriate or at all out of precedent for his office to weigh in on litigation. What I've heard from others that have spoken to us here at the Square over the last week and a half since we obtained these documents is the part that's unusual is to have someone in the AG's office going out of their way to say, you might want to add this referendum clause, or here's where I think this is going before the state Supreme Court. Here's how you could push the issue. That's what is unusual in this case. And of course, of interest, I know, to a lot of folks who watch our coverage. So we're going to be staying on top of that.